Welcome to night number 62 of History Bedtime Stories. In bed, in our pajamas, tonight, let's talk about the People Mover. It all starts back in 1966 when Congress creates the Urban Mass Transportation Administration. The administration failed pretty miserably over the next 9 years, having no real achievements until in 1975, desperate for a win, the Urban Mass Transportation Administration created the Downtown People Mover program. This was a multi-million-dollar national project that held a nationwide competition to award cities massive funding to build people movers in their downtown areas. Detroit throws its proverbial hat into the ring. However, in the end, program grants are awarded to Cleveland, Houston, Los Angeles, and St. Paul. But an additional extension just 9 months later gives Baltimore, Miami, and Detroit a little tiny bit of funding and some help along with access to additional grants to be able to complete people movers. In the end, though, only Detroit and Miami actually complete the project and build people movers. Several companies got involved in bids and designs to build the people mover, including the Ford Motor Company here in Detroit. They built a room size, massive 90 feet by 20 foot scale model of the people mover. And with their plan, the Detroit people mover would have been huge. It would have had a subway system running down Woodward Avenue. It would have had street level trains on Jefferson, Gratiot, and Michigan avenues. And it would have had large commuter trains that ran from Pontiac, Port Huron, and Ann Arbor into Detroit. What could have been? Luckily for Detroiters, though, one part of the program didn't have its budget cut. That part was the art in the stations, and that was because of a glorious woman, a brilliant lady named Irene Walt. Irene had made a name for herself by getting public art into hospitals. Following her success with having artwork in public places for people to enjoy while they worked, recuperated, or underwent medical testing and surgeries, she sees art as necessity for the people mover. The original plan was 13 stations, concrete and metal. Everyone would look exactly the same. And Irene Walt said, no, that's the worst possible thing we can do. She fundraises just shy of $3 million. And when the people mover opens in 1987, she has worked from 1984 to guarantee that 15 pieces of art across 13 stations, 14 of which are specifically commissioned for the stations, make each one different, exciting, and beautiful. Artwork includes Pewabic tile, a sculpture by the great Marshall Fredericks, and artwork by both local, national, and internationally famous artists. Today, the People Mover sees just shy of 1.7 million riders a year. The People Mover still costs only 75 cents to run, so by hopping on board and going in a 2.9-mile one-way loop, you get a beautiful view of downtown Detroit, but access to a $3 million art collection. The People Mover, when it opened, actually ran in a counterclockwise direction. However, during maintenance in 2008, it was discovered that flipping the direction the train traveled reduced the time required to complete one round-trip lap. The clockwise direction was one short, relatively steep uphill climb and then a coast downhill for the majority of the ride, allowing the train to use gravity to accelerate. This makes each round trip slightly more energy efficient and slightly faster. And when I say slightly, it saves 43 seconds. Wash your hands. We'll see you tomorrow night.